Hello everybody, welcome to Awesome Rusty Bucket. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already and drop a like on this video. I'm trying to hit 100k subscribers, so your subscription would be much appreciated. Hey, why don't we talk about something that pissed me off today? So probably my favorite area to cover in regards to sports, not because it's my favorite thing to really talk about, but because I feel like I'm at least contributing something to the conversation that most people are not, because a lot of NBA YouTube really just strictly focuses on the basketball because they don't want to avoid getting into any controversial territory. But I don't really give a shit. And today we're going to talk about some player empowerment type stuff, and in particular, an argument that has existed in sports for a very long time. And luckily, people are coming around to realize it's dumb. The opinion that I'm going to be presenting and talking against in this video is one that has become increasingly unpopular, and I appreciate that. And understand that this is probably something that maybe 10% of people believe, but even then that's too much. So if you did not know, Andrew Wiggins has been missing a decent stretch of time because of something personal going on in his life. I'm not going to speculate as to what that is because it's really none of our damn business, but some people seem to disagree. Like Sam, I'm not going to try and say his last name because I don't want to butcher it, but seen him on Twitter a few times, generally inoffensive posts and stuff like that. But I saw this thing and it really pissed me off. This was a couple of days ago and I'm just now getting to it, but it is what it is. I have a hard time feeling overly critical of Poole when he is one of two Warriors to not miss a single game. Meanwhile, how many of you are allowed to miss 1/5 of the calendar year without disclosing why full paid? A lot of issues with that. The first and most obvious one, I'm going to just go ahead and quote someone else's tweet because Kylan Mills here basically put it in as good a words as I could. Wiggins disclosed to the Warriors, his employer, what is going on, and they gave him leave. If you take leave of absence from your job at a restaurant, should your employer discuss why to every customer who buys food? Buying a ticket does not entitle you to a player's personal life. Could not put that better. Shout out to her for that. It's not public knowledge for a reason. It's not for the public to know. To reference another tweet, my good friend Noah Terranova said that Woj and Shams and all their reports and things just constantly being leaked to the media, and this just being something that we generally do end up knowing about, has led to people almost feeling entitled to that information, which is entirely off base because they're not entitled to that information in the slightest. It is up to the employer of the Golden State Warriors to decide if they're okay with Andrew Wiggins missing a bunch of time while fully paid, given what his issue is, whatever it may be, and they have deemed it appropriate. So that should be the end of it, and you should leave that alone. But a lot of people have historically had an issue with players missing games for whatever personal reason it may be, whether it's mental health stuff, whether it's death of a family member, whether it is like their wife having a kid. I know that was a thing that people have had issues with, not only in the NBA world, but I know it was especially a big fuss back in the day in the MLB because some player wanted to miss like 10 games to be with his wife who had freshly had a kid. And it's like, dude, there's like, what, 180 regular season baseball games or whatever in God's name it is. So who really gives a shit? A point that I always bring up all the time, and this will supplement the rest of the commentary here. Basketball and your viewing of it as an NBA fan is not life or death. It is not that important. I understand this is a multi-billion-dollar industry. I understand that there are stakes to this, and I understand why teams care about their best players being available to play games, especially if they have championship aspirations. But there is a fine line that should not be crossed where you are expecting these players to be robots for the sake of your own basketball fandom. And as Kylan said here, buying a ticket does not entitle you to a player's personal life. So just keep that in mind as I say the rest of this. Because what really bothers me about the argument that Sam uses here is that it is counterintuitive to his own best interest and counterintuitive to the best interest of the working class type of people who will produce this rhetoric. The argument, how many of you are allowed to miss 1/5 of the calendar without describing why fully paid? So again, that's not really what you're allowed to do. But if the argument is, moreover, why is this player afforded this luxury from an employer when I'm not allowed that. It's the same energy as people who are against student loan debt forgiveness. Sorry, I'm gonna have to get a little political on this video. It's just the very nature of it. If you have an issue with it, I'm sorry, but I'm not also. Student loan debt forgiveness. They're like, well, I had to pay my student loans, so why do they get to not pay their student loans? It's the same argument as people being like, this stupid criticism is applied to this player unfairly. Why isn't this stupid criticism applied to this player unfairly who has the same circumstances or whatever? Dumb arguments that are unfair to people, bad things that are unfair to people that are happening to you or someone else, you should not wish then on everybody else, because why are you rooting for the unfair thing to happen more? Something, I imagine whatever happened with Andrew Wiggins, again, not speculating on it, was something that was large enough that the Warriors deemed whatever he was doing okay. Because frankly, as much as we like to talk like the NBA is super progressive in this area, they're not. They make players play injured all the time and things like that. It's just not the case. So whatever it is, the Warriors deem this acceptable. And given any job where you have like a straight up career, I feel like this should be applied universally, but I understand why that would be a more taboo point of view. If you have a straight up career though, and you're an important part of the team, and you serve a strong function, and you're gainfully employed, if you have something bad happen in your life, or whatever it may be, that needs your attention and your time, and you have to step away from that profession for a little bit, I think every company would literally benefit and should allow things like that to happen. It is literally a bootlicker talking point. No one loves this type of argument more than somebody who employs a bunch of people. Nobody loves this argument more than somebody who doesn't want to give more than a couple of weeks of maternity leave. Nobody loves this argument more than the people who actually own the capital, not the ones who are employed under it. So this argument is anti-worker, it is anti-employee, it is anti all of that. Now, I understand why if you're like an Amazon worker, you kind of scoff at the notion of like a 30 million a year person being like, you know, going under the guise of a worker's rights. But ultimately, it's the same principle. It's just with much larger stakes and money involved. And while I get that Andrew Wiggins is not the best example or anything like that, the same problem comes up when talking about Ben Simmons in the past. Overarching point, removing that factor from the equation, just looking at how we're discussing how being employed should work. If you're in the position of being employed, or, you know, or at least sympathetic to those people rather than the person hiring them, you should understand that what's happening with Andrew Wiggins is the way the thing should be. And unfortunately, Sam here is right. Most of us cannot miss a fifth of the year, and just it works out because our employee is treating us like a human being. Because most employers don't treat you like a human being. They treat you like an asset, and you're only as good as the value that you bring them. And that's just damn unfortunate. And seeing people, I don't know what Sam's job is, but seeing people who are potentially under somebody else say these arguments that hurt their own perspective, hurt their own side of things, it saddens me. It's just capitalist propaganda. Anyways, shout out to Rudy for editing this video, and goodbye.